Broadcasting live with pre-recorded lines, welcome to the first and probably last episode of the Wartwood Gazette podcast. Welcome, dirty peasants. Before we start, let's just do a roll call of everyone in the chat at the moment. So, you're already hearing me right now. I'm Thumbaticon. We have Chuck.
Hello. I grew
We've
tulips.
Oh, alright, I should have said this first. I'll let you guys introduce yourselves as well. Next up, we have JoytheBoi.
Hello, I'm Joy. I'm a boy. I have nothing else to say.
Alright, next we have King of the Uzbeks.
Hey, I'm here as well. We'll see how this goes.
And finally, we have Lemur.
Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. I'm Lemur. I'm just a small animal who loves Amphibia.
Alright, thank you, Lemur. So now, I guess, what do you guys want to do? Do you guys want to talk about Season 2 in general, or do you just want to go straight to the first temple?
Ooh, I would say season 2 in general.
Yeah, I think that's the best bet.
Okay, so let's
Yeah.
start with Joy then. What do you think of Season 2 so far?
I think it's been great. It's mostly improved upon absolutely everything in season 1. Characters, lore, even jokes. Season 1 had more jokes, but season 2 has better jokes. If does that sound correct?
Yeah, I think it's fair.
Yeah. The season 2 is improved in.
Yeah. I think season 2 has done, it has not an issue, I'd say, but like in season 1, we really got to know the Wartwood characters, and here some of the side characters we meet for like an episode, you don't get to really go in depth with them as much. But overall, I think it's been better. Yes, the jokes, the lore, the scope.
Yeah, the thing about that is like
Oh, what happened to Joy?
sorry. For most of I keep accidentally not pushing the push to talk. For most of season 2A, they were traveling, so we didn't get to see the characters very often. They just appeared and then, oh, well, we gotta go.
Interesting. Okay, well, how about you, Chuck? What do you think of Season 2 so far?
I think it's improved season 1. And it's like taking the characters that we like that they developed through season 1 on new adventures, and that's pretty cool. And seeing their interactions outside of Wartwood and stuff. And we have Marcy, which is an instant plus.
Yep, that's true. And Lemur.
Well, I'm going to echo what Joy and Chuck said and say that season 2 has been, in my opinion, an incredible ride so far. Like, season 1 already has been very good, especially because it took the time to develop these characters on who they are before they set them away to their journey. And season 2 so far, like I said, has been an incredible journey. Like, we have seen the world of Amphibia so much more than we have already seen in season 1. Newtopia has been a very interesting place too. We got the new characters of Andrias, Yunan, Olivia, and of course there's also Marcy, who has been the absolute highlight of the season. And I've been very, very excited for what is season 2B has in store for us.
Absolutely. And yeah, like in general, I've been enjoying season 2 a lot. Like I really like how we finally got out of Wartwood and it's like we're exploring the rest of the world now, and including the road trip on the way to Newtopia. And yeah, I'm just excited for what comes up next and what came out just recently. As of recording, we're this is March 30th, not March 30th. Oops, March 20th. And so this is the day after the first temple was released, and I guess we're going to get right into it. So let's start with the time frame of the beginning of the segment up until we see Marcy and the bird Joe Sparrow arrive to Wartwood. So who wants to go first?
And then everyone went silent.
All right, Lemur.
Okay. So, remember last week where we are so hyped up about After the Rain, and then, it happened and it got like a mixed reception. The first temple, what the first temple did immediately is establish that the tension After the Rain isn't actually solved at all. Like, I really love how the first temple showed that the problem between Hop Pop and Anne from After the Rain hasn't been truly resolved yet. And from what we've seen in this episode 2, I don't think that tension might probably play a small role in probably future episodes, maybe in the season finale. But yeah, like I said, I really appreciate how they established that After the Rain, despite not being the lore episode that we hope, is a truly important episode in this season, in this storyline we have so far.
Yes, absolutely. Like I kind of had the feeling that like last week, since After the Rain was only 11 minutes long, it probably prioritized the Anne and Hop Pop relationship, and I'm just super relieved that that tension or those consequences didn't just like end after 11-minute segment, that it's carrying over. But that's what Amphibia does really well. Like it remembers the continuity that sets up in season 1 and as well as season 2.
Yeah,
Joy, do you want to add anything?
yeah, I was about to.
Yo.
I was very happy that they continued that because, yeah, as Lemur said, man, everyone thought, oh, that's it. They resolved it in one episode. They hugged, and now everything's okay between them. I think that's what let a lot of people down. So I'm very glad that Amphibia took the time to show us that no, they still have a long way to go. They have to heal. They have to forgive each other and let go, and that it's gonna take time. It's not just gonna take an apology. It's gonna take time. That was a really nice thing that they did. I am very happy about that.
Guess I'll echo what they were saying and say, yeah, it's good they continued. I'm glad that it also focused on Anne and Hop Pop's relationship as opposed to Hop Pop's motivation for burying the box, which I thought was fairly well explained last week, but sort of at the expense of explaining sort of what happened to Anne and Hop Pop's relationship. So I'm glad that's what they carried over into this one.
Absolutely, yeah. And I really liked how Sprig did not have any chill about that.
Poor boy, he doesn't know how to read the room.
And I appreciate having Polly be the one who sort of, because that goes back all the way to the first episode where Hop Pop's like, Polly, you have more responsibility than Sprig.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It is sadly
Sprig, shut up.
Sadly in character for Sprig to just say like the most uncomfortable stuff that they would rather want not to speak about.
Oh man, it's like Anne almost abandoned our family. Oh.
And I will say it's interesting, sort of that Hop Pop and Anne are putting on this sort of show for Sprig and Polly about getting along when clearly they aren't.
Yeah, I found that I find that aspect interesting as well. Like they would like they would rather put on a show to maintain the harmony within the family than actually, you know, solve that issue first. And which I find it understandable, but it's just a bandage that it's just like a small band-aid that is gonna be ripped out sooner rather than later. And the as we've seen from the episode, that bandage was ripped off.
Yeah. And I guess next up we have Marcy arriving into Wartwood on her mighty Joe Sparrow, who immediately goes off to flirt with Bessie.
Okay.
Oh, Joe Sparrow is
Yeah.
such a good name. I'm so happy that he's called Joe Sparrow, first of all.
That was a really good joke as well.
Yes. And Marcy just arriving in a pile of books as his own character. Like she just pops out like, hey!
And then immediately falls off the bird flat on her face.
We love our dorky Marcy.
I will say I don't know if we'll see how it develops, but the fact that they didn't immediately tell Marcy, hey, you have this book, the box might be dangerous, and then they just let her poke at it. We'll see if that comes back to haunt Anne and the Planters later, not being upfront with Marcy about the danger of the box.
Yeah, that immediately stood out to me. Like they just absolutely ignored it. They were like, "Hey, Marcy, I just learned this deadly information about the box. Except I'm not gonna tell you. Here, have the box. I'll let you just remove the gem. Sure."
The music was really like eerie when Marcy was like playing with the box and like figuring out how to like open up the gems, and just stops immediately.
Yeah, well, I'm glad it actually produced music it was a music box instead of just a box.
Oh,
And then
right,
I will
yeah.
say those little arm
Still no
things
drum though.
were very mechanical, much in the way that the factory was, and then later the stuff with Andrias.
I'm surprised that there's no that it somehow makes music without like a mechanical drum inside, which is something that I've been speculating for a while now, and I'm kind of disappointed that it did it that the drum would probably never come into play into any part of the series, but it's fine, I guess.
Well, we never know. Maybe the drum has like not the drum, but the box itself maybe plays different songs, and they just don't know how. Because remember Andrias's book, I think it showed the drum and it showed a few music notes, so maybe they have to play some kind of like song to activate the gems.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't think they would make a music box if the music itself didn't have any sort of relevancy like that. I don't think that would be just an aesthetic choice for the hell of it.
Yeah. And Marcy pushes all those buttons, and I'm wondering if that might be like, Anne just sort of opened the music box and all three of them went and they got scattered. If you have to hit certain buttons to direct it places. And if that'll make sure that if they ever go to another world or when they go home, they won't just get scattered again.
Either
That's a good point.
Yeah, that's a good point. And speaking of Marcy, what else do I have to say? Like, I just can't say anything about Marcy at this point. Like, my enthusiasm for this character has shown multiple times already.
Marcy is a blessing upon Amphibia as a whole. And she brought so much happiness into the show. So much. I don't know how to even say it. She has brought so much charm. That should be the word. Uh, I appreciate her fully, and I appreciated her throughout the whole episode.
Also, Haley Chu's performance is great. She is great here. She is great in this episode. I'm not gonna.
Absolutely. The voice actors in Amphibia always kill it. They're
Yeah.
amazing.
Well, don't worry, guys. You'll have plenty of time to gush about Marcy later on.
Of course.
So I guess we'll cover the next time frame about basically them arriving to the temple, and I guess the first two challenges, since they breezed by those pretty well. So I guess we'll cover them arriving to the first temple and up to completing the second temple challenge with the "Don't be jealous of my hue" code that Marcy immediately decoded for us.
I do want to say
Thankful.
something about the trip to the temple, and it's a concern. I don't want to be a downer or anything. But one of the things I think that made Newtopia so appealing was it took them such a long time to get there. It took effort, like it gave a sense of scale to Amphibia.
Yes.
But if they're just going to be flying everywhere now on and sending letters with bees or flies or whatever, I do think that reduces the sense of scale for Amphibia. I hate to compare it to Game of Thrones final seasons in any way because that's unfair to Amphibia, but the sort of rapid movement that loses the sense of distance and sense of effort it takes to get from one place to another.
Yeah, I agree. I've been a little bit worried about how how the fast travel is going to happen for the rest of the season, because I know like Newtopia, that took maybe like 4 or 5 episodes, and then now we're getting less of the journey between the destinations, and we're getting like I think 2 or 3 Wartwood episodes, which I don't mind. Wartwood's always fine, but it feels a little safe for the show. I don't know. I wouldn't mind if they were a little bit daring and just had some like interesting side adventures on the way to each temple.
That sounds good, yeah, but I think this is mostly a necessary evil. Like, if they have only like 3 seasons planned, they can't really go around wasting time
Yeah.
and not advancing the plot. Like, it's starting to take off, and if they just keep going from like a plot to comedic, to plot to comedic again, and oh fuck, hold on, give me a second. Okay, done. But something really loud just played. Okay. If they just keep going from plot to episodic, comedy to plot, it's, I don't know, the tone of the show is gonna be really inconsistent. I think it's good that they gave them a way to get around, and while it reduces the sense of scale of Amphibia, it's a necessary evil. Like, I think it's really gonna help us concentrate on what's happening and have it advance rapidly instead of just being like, oh well, we gotta get here, and it's gonna take us like 3 episodes every single time.
I agree
Yeah, I
They
with
guess
will,
the
uh,
ups.
they will, they will have to give more time to the temple episodes after all.
And I agree with Joy. Like, it's mostly a pacing. It's like if they do try and make the journey to the temples like longer, it would probably make a pacing issue for the show. Like, yeah, the scale may have been reduced, but the pacing of the story is consistent, and I think that's more important than I think that's more important as of now. The scale of that's the scale. The consistency and pacing of the story is more important than the scale of the show as of now, because the plot, like what he said, the plot has just been starting to take off, and any more distractions is some kind detrimental at this point.
Yeah, I think I really want more of those like side quests. But like I understand how like, we have 10 episodes left and they're just going straight to the point. And
Mhm.
what really I don't want to say concerns me because I actually like how we're covering the temple quest in the middle of the show. So it's like, what comes next? What comes after this? Which is really interesting. Because I
Makes it
always thought
predict.
maybe, yeah, I always thought maybe like the temple, we'd do a temple in maybe in the season, and then the other two temples, season 3. But then no, we're finishing the temples. So what comes next? Like, is the box gonna be recharged by the end of season 2? Like, what will happen?
It makes
Yeah,
the plot even more unpredictable.
yeah, it genuinely kind of scares me. I mean, I love it, but it scares me because like, what's going to happen? What could possibly happen
Yeah.
that they could somehow recharge the box fully and still have an entire season left of plot to go?
I
That
think the next Sasha episode, Barrel's Warhammer, should give us a better sense of sort of what the bigger picture situation is, from like where everyone is, where sort of the rebellion is happening, and that might give us a
Yeah,
better idea what the end game is going to be.
Yeah, and
yeah,
we will
especially
get to the
since she
end
doesn't
game.
really know anything about the
Yeah.
gems.
Oh yeah, Sasha. She's just her and Grime are just hanging out, evading the law.
They're the wild
Yeah.
cards. They're the wild cards so far.
But I guess we'll swing back to the actually arriving at the temple and completing the first 2 challenges. So I guess Lemur, what did you think of these first 2 challenges?
Hmm. Well, I I actually don't have a lot to say about those two puzzles, but I have to admit I find those concepts to be I find the concepts of the two temples to be really fun. Like, first one is like the first two puzzles just further demonstrates that the that there is actual technology in Amphibia, not just magic, not magic, but technology, and more advanced technology than anything that we have made so far. Like the magnetic field that surrounds Marcy when she tries to attempt to solve the Rubik's cube, the the dance floor that has way too many traps in them. Like, it's very it's not as interesting as the last one, but they're really fun.
I will say that sort of Marcy seeing sort of this magic green bubble and immediately finding a scientific rationalization for it is interesting. We'll see how that plays out in Maddie and Marcy when she actually interacts with magic and how her scientific brain reacts to that. And then I would say certainly the most interesting thing about the first 2 challenges is when Anne and Hop Pop fight over who gets to jump on the one
Throw
square.
themselves.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the second one, the second puzzle, I forgot. Yeah.
yeah, I have to say, those puzzles really gave a sense of what is, or at least was, possible in uh, Amphibia with their current technology. It's very interesting. It's really good world building. Uh, Given this was built way before, probably by the times of Robo and all, it really helps us see just how far this technology came. So
Oh, and we also need to talk about the mural that I honestly missed in the first viewing.
It was obscured by darkness, but like when you see it, you can't unsee it anymore. You can't unsee it at all. Like, it's just there staring at your face, and it's very easy to miss. Like in the first viewing, of course.
Yeah, that's the end title card every episode. And then when we finally see it without the Amphibia letters blocking it, well, actually, there was also moss and darkness on that mural, but I don't know. Just really like that's just a big like question mark. That just it's like just a bunch of warning bells.
Yeah, it was just there. That's I think it was really fun that it was just there. You could easily miss it, especially on TV where you can't just rewind. It was just there, but like that probably one of the most important pieces of foreshadowing, or at least you know, a mural that usually tells of prophecy, and it was just there.
And none of them noticed it.
Oh wait, hold on.
Hey, sorry about that.
Hello.
Oh, hey, it's Princess Cthulhu making
sorry.
his dramatic entrance.
My game ran a little bit late.
It's not a problem.
When did we start?
We start at
we're
like...
ta-
Oh, like right now we are talking about the first two temple challenges.
Shoot, I came way later than I expected. Hot damn.
But you didn't miss the end.
Well, that's the important bit.
So, PC, what are your thoughts on, I guess, the planter gang arriving to the temple and completing the first two challenges?
Well, the arriving to the temple part, personally, all right, first I want to say that while the outhouse gag was kind of funny, it is a bit weird how different it is aesthetically from the rest of the temple.
So, like, were you thinking like it'd be like a stone carving with ancient ruins, and then the inside is the toilet?
Like, I mean, I guess I get the outside of the outhouse, but mainly it was different. However, the arrival I thought was pretty funny. Just good writing. Remind me what the first two challenges were. We had the Rubik's Cube room and what was the second
dance floor one? The dance floor one. Well,
Wait, was
not
that
dance floor.
Oh,
It was. It's the one with the blue, pink, and the green tiles. Where
right.
Mhm.
I mean, the Rubik's Cube one I thought was pretty cool. I'll admit the whole she's being suspended in a magnetic field thing was like that. I mean, that was a bit hand wavy science stuff, even for Amphibia.
Talking about this before you came in, some of it might just be Marcy wants everything to be neat and scientific so she can understand it. And I think Hop Pop had the better of it by just calling it magic. And I'm interested to see how that plays out in Maddie and Marcy.
Oh yeah, that I forgot to mention that. I was gonna mention it originally. It's really interesting how something that we just dismissed it as magic when we saw like the trailers and all. It's interesting to see that it has a scientific explanation, at least from Marcy. I wonder if we've ever seen anything else that we just assumed was magic and was actually something scientific.
Yeah, that's possible. Like, I guess whatever happened with the Bazaar, I don't know, maybe they just have like some high-tech science-y smoke machines that like secretly sets up a path for them to find the Bazaar.
Yeah, the delineation between magic and technology in Amphibia is thin. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I mean, I
definitely
remember
think
Yes.
the Thor movies had that like interesting like line about how like, oh, like magic is just science you don't understand.
Yeah, and while I'm super down for the magic is just science that you don't understand way that they're doing things, they also just have rituals and curses, which does not which seems like definitely magic and not just science you don't understand.
It's like
I mean,
ancient.
Doom opened
I-
in the Doom franchise. They opened a portal to hell. I'm sure summoning a bird wasn't too hard.
Yes.
I want to say about the whole magic is science that you just don't understand, even regarding rituals and all. That's basically just the definition of magic. Like the second you can actually explain how it occurs or what makes it work, it's no longer magic. It's a science.
Right, but I do feel like there is a distinct difference between we have this let's say this like techno hammer powered by magic, and if you mix these herbs together and whisper the right words over it, it turns someone into a bird.
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
I agree.
Like, yes, they're both quote unquote magic, but one of them feels significantly more explicitly fantastical than the other.
Yep.
Yeah, I definitely get that.
Does anyone have any more thoughts about the first two temple challenges before we advance?
I don't know if anyone brought this up, but you didn't need two people to solve that. You could have just thrown one of the rocks onto both of the green squares, and you'd be fine.
And I would say Marcy carefully throws the rock onto the blue square. Then she carefully throws one onto the red square. And then she just jumps on the green square without checking. Which I think reflects her overconfidence. But still,
Yes. Yeah.
come
no, I
on,
think
Marcy. Just
that
throw
was
the
a
rock.
very I agree. That was very good sign of overconfidence. But no one needed to ever jump on the squares because you could have just underhanded rocks onto them.
That's true. Well, one thing's for sure, Anne's other shoe was off the table. There's no way she can lose that other shoe.
Yeah, no, I'm glad that they didn't throw the shoe.
Again, we could just explain like there are no more rocks in like the vicinity.
You could
You
just
could
go
go back.
outside and just grab more rocks.
Yeah, didn't
Yeah, that's fair.
If you come prepared enough, you probably have like, I don't know, something heavy in your bag. Like it doesn't need to be a rock. Like
and
you
didn't
could just
Marcy throw like a
something.
pebble?
Yeah, they don't
Yeah,
need
it
to be
was
that
very
heavy.
light.
Exactly.
The
It wasn't
rocks
even
were
a heavy
small.
rock. It was just something small. Like I'm pretty sure she could just throw a satchel or a shoe and it would have the exact same effect.
Yeah.
Oh shit! I just forgot. Did we mention the mural while they were entering the temple?
Yeah.
Yes, we did.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we did.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the most interesting part of the first two challenges, and I said this before, but I want to cycle back, is the hop pop and fight over who gets to needlessly jump on the second square. That dynamic.
Yeah. I do always love the trope of two characters arguing over who gets to be the most self-sacrificing.
Mhm.
Like that's always funny, but the line "It's clear that I'm not a part of your family" I think was
Yeah.
just so good.
Oof.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for reminding me of that. I when we were talking about the pop up and Anne conflict, I was like, should I bring this up? This doesn't appear on the later part. Thank you for reminding me. That hurt so much. Uh, Especially when Hop Pop had just like accepted Anne as his family already. Like in Lost in Utopia, when Polly and Anne crash into the bus window, it's just like, oh, that's my granddaughter and my adopted granddaughter, and that was so sweet. And hearing Anne just say, "It's clear that I'm not part of the family," so casually, just like
Ah.
man, that just hurt.
It's like
it
a- it-
rips your heart out.
It's like a Bradley line, but it wasn't written by Bradley.
No, I would, yeah. Like you can,
Yeah.
I've talked about this in the chat before, but Braille is it Bradley or Brayley?
Matt Bradley. We say Bradley.
All right, I've been pronouncing it wrong in my head this entire time. When Bradley writes episodes, I've talked about how there's like a layer of harshness.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was like a very, you were saying, just the level of harshness in that is just very Bradley-esque.
It was just very.
It's like the most direct character moment in this entire episode. That one line.
Yeah, it's like it's, and I love how it's just mentioned in passing. Like I don't think the script really called a bunch of attention to it, when in any other series something like that would just have like absolutely destroyed the vibe of the room, or like have, straight up would make a character break into tears. No, he just said that, and then they continued because Marcy is too oblivious to the stuff that was happening around her.
She didn't even hear Anne yelling about how Hop Pop buried the box.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I found that very interesting. Marcy was
Yeah.
so wrapped up in all of this
Mhm.
that she just absolutely missed out on every single time
Yeah.
that Marcy and
They
Anne
said, like,
almost
at the end-
explained what happened.
I'm jumping forward a bit here, but at the end when they're arguing on the flipboard board or chess, I'm just gonna call it the chessboard. She looks up, and that's what triggers her realizing, oh, I've done something wrong. But has she like definitively learned about Hop Pop burying the box yet, or is she just aware that there was some fight between Hop Pop and Anne?
That's the latter, I
think-
guess.
Yeah,
I
I
think-
think yeah.
Yeah.
She was just aware that something was happening. I don't think she knows exactly what happened, because the only thing that we ever saw that caught her attention was Anne straight up screaming, with her just yelling. And it wasn't until that moment that she was like, oh wait, something's happening.
Yeah, no, I agree. I still don't think Marcy knows that Hop Pop buried the box.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And this is
And
like a perfect way to transition into like the final temple challenge. So yeah, continue.
Which that feels like it could come back later
Yeah.
if
Well,
she finds out Hop Pop buried the box at the wrong time.
Imagine if in season 3 they just have like a joke of like, oh man, this is just as heartbreaking as that time I found out Hop Pop buried the calamity box. And Marcy's just like, what? What are you talking
Yeah.
about?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'll fill you in later.
Now, if we're talking about the transition to the third temple, we have to talk about the SpongeBob transition.
Yes. Oh my
Yes!
god.
Actually, I
Tom!
missed that.
They should have had Tom Kenny in there, man.
Oh, it's
One
so much
hour
better.
later.
That would have killed me.
But I guess it's copyright reasons, I guess. They can't do that.
And
Well, they
getting
had
Tom
they
Kenny
had Sprig's face on it.
for a
Yeah.
single
Hmm?
gag.
Yeah, they should have gotten Tom Kenny.
That would have been
Oh.
so good. Oh my god. Actually, speaking of that long hallway, did we talk about Sprig constantly like reopening the wounds?
We talked a bit about that at the start.
We talked
And
about
Holly
it a little
playing-
times.
Poor boy
Did-
just doesn't know how to read emotions.
Right. Did we tie that back to literally the first scene of the
Yes.
season? Oh, I'm so glad, because that's so funny to me that's a reoccurring thing.
Yeah, and Polly, out of all people, is just like, Sprig, shut up.
But I do think it was interesting how, moving on from me trying to catch up on the conversation, how Sprig and Polly
No worries.
went to Marcy to try to have her meet.
Have her mediate
Yeah,
the
that was.
situation.
Yeah. It is. They obviously view Anne as a not quite mentor figure, but like we talked
Big
about this
sis.
in the chat, big sister. And
Mhm.
in Newtopia they grew to trust Marcy, and of course Marcy is the one friend Anne has from home that hasn't tried to kill him. And
Yep.
of course they don't want to when your family is fighting, you don't want to be the one to get involved. So you're like, let's go to her. She knows them, and she's smart. Smart people should know that, or whatever.
Right, but but exactly, and I think it's such a good way to show how much Sprig and Polly trust Marcy at this point.
Yeah, that
Also-
was very sweet, very subtle but nice way of showing that hey, they do love her, or at least trust her enough to have her deal with these family issues.
And also, I wanted to say this, but Amanda Layden is really growing on me as Polly. Like, she is becoming so good as her character.
Oh yeah, no, that voice actor is doing such a good job at voicing. Well, Polly. She's doing such a good job at voicing Polly, and I have to give her huge props because voicing children, very young characters, can be a challenge.
And yeah, Polly hasn't gotten a lot of sort of emotional moments this season.
But not yet.
Not yet.
Not
yet.
I am well aware of the interview with Matt Briley, and that's generally how the season is going to escalate. So, but
I'm not prepared for Polly's super emotional scene.
yeah.
I remember when I asked a question to like the main server, like Amphibicord server, where if you're gonna pick one character to replace their VA, who would it be? Many people said Polly and replace her with Tara Strong. But now I can't do that, man. I can't do that.
I'll admit I'm not very familiar with either. She's Teen Titans and My Little Pony were her two things, right? Or was it just Teen Titans?
No,
a
she
lot
got
more.
The voice of
She's a-
Timmy Turner.
Yeah, she's done a ton of voices.
She's also the voice of Ben 10.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've seen none of those shows.
She gets around.
Yeah. Tara's done a ton of voices, but honestly, I can't imagine anyone else doing Polly.
Yeah,
Oh,
at
yeah,
this
I mean,
point,
it would
I
just
can't
be
do it
weird.
anymore.
Yeah, at this point, maybe like back in season 1 or something, I would have like, yeah, we can change Polly, it's okay. But and now I just can't imagine it. If I had to pick a main character to change the voice actor, it would probably wait. No, this isn't relevant to the podcast. I just realized. But yeah, Polly's voice acting, absolutely amazing.
That's a nice
if
save,
you
Joy.
need someone to do what?
That was a nice save. If you mentioned, I think each of us are on a different like team in the Amphibia Discord, so you saved yourself some heartbreak.
Amazing.
But yeah,
so-
Amanda has grown so much as a VA in the show, and
Yeah.
Bradley made the right choice.
Yeah. No, I have to say, I think the casting is superb.
Yeah, you have all seen me talk and gush about how good Brenda Song is as Ams.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, Brenda popped off in this
Amphibia
episode
cast.
too.
We were talking about the third challenge, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
that is
yeah. All right, let's get into it.
All right, let's get into
We're gonna find a way to
what's the game
pan this
called?
out.
What's the game
Flipboard.
called? Flipboard?
Flipboard.
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 Which actually got a name drop in Reunion.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a nice callback. What was the checkers? What was the checkers equivalent?
Bog something?
Bog hop or something?
Something along those lines. I don't remember.
Yeah, Bog Hog, I guess.
Yeah. Regardless, yeah, that was a fun callback. First, I have to say,
Bog Jump.
Bog jump. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thanks, Fall.
Thank you,
Bog
Paul.
Champ.
No.
No.
So I have before we really get into it, I can't be the only one who thought this. What if you were the only person in the temple? Like, what if you didn't have friends to be turned into chess pieces?
Yeah.
Yeah, that really stuck out to me. That
It was
it was really odd. It's like,
Like-
well, does
one
the
of the
temple not accept
yes.
if you go alone?
one of
I
the
mean, you
intro-
could have done it on your own, and the lesson of learning humility would have been the same.
because you would
like-
have still had to resign to get out of the.
Yeah, because like it's still cheating. It's not gonna let you win.
Yes.
Um,
But the drive to concede rather than fight out to the bitter end is because your friends are being forced to hit each other a bunch. And what if you just didn't bring any friends? What if you're soloing this?
Then maybe you probably would have died in the earlier challenge.
You just need
I
a small
think
rock.
I think if this,
Oh right, it's the rock and the
Wait.
Rook's cube where you're in the bubble.
yeah, exactly. It just turns the chess pieces. Just take the rock, and it's like, you're gonna if you want to save this rock, you better give up.
I suppose that the reason of like the dance floor puzzle is to try to guarantee that there are at least two people, and presumably if you only had one person left, then they would be on the enemy side of the chessboard.
Mhm.
Yeah, because then you have to fight them.
And even then, if you were solo and you fight to the bitter end, you're just gonna get defeated anyway. Which is, in the condition in the third puzzle was that if you get defeated, you can never go into the temple. You can never go challenge the temples ever. You can never go challenge the temple ever again.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know how newts and frogs and toads died from that, to be honest.
They didn't die. They
Stubbornness.
just got forbidden to challenge it ever again.
Explicitly said that no one else has ever made it out alive.
yeah. That she
Actually,
very
if
much
you,
said that
if
on
you
the trip.
fail the test, do you not get to leave?
Oh wait.
Holy moly.
She said no newt, frog, or toad has ever completed the challenge. What if there were other humans, like the Skip Man owner? Huh?
Which
All right.
That's interesting.
we'll get to that as we discuss. I think Andrias's
Yeah.
plan about
Yeah.
what happened to previous humans who got stuck
Anyway,
here.
we should really focus on the actual challenge, which
Mhm.
I think was really fun to watch.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to the
absolutely.
it's TJ Hill, right? It is the music guy for this.
Yes.
The Marcy theme going in the background, both sort of a sad version and a darker version, were very good during this fight.
Man, everyone was saying it in the chat, but holy moly, the music for this entire episode was so good, and especially for that scene.
Yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
the Flipwort scene is where the music really shines the best because it's a montage, so you know.
Mm-hmm.
And there's probably. Oh, go ahead, King.
Oh no, this is unrelated to the music. So if this is about the music, keep going.
No, it wasn't about the music.
All right. So just the bit about her being able to beat Andrias in Flipboard is very interesting. It's not quite a full-on theory or headcanon yet, but this idea that maybe he was letting her take the lead in Newtopia to sort of puff up her ego. And I'm wondering if he perhaps threw some of those games of Flipboard. But even if that isn't true, sort of this master Flipboard player, this master chess player, fits well with what we've seen revealed about him as time goes on.
I mean, he's had 1,000 years to practice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The very first thing we ever saw him do was move pieces on a board.
Yeah.
Which those, looking back, are clearly Flipboard pieces. So I think, what does this piece represent? That I think is clearly dead.
Yeah,
with the exception of Anne and Marcy.
That theory is very interesting because of something we learned at the end of this episode. I'm not gonna go too much into that until we get to that scene.
Yeah.
When we get to that, I'll remind me to bring this back up again.
All right.
Right.
Regardless, yeah, I quite liked it. Is there anything else we really want to say about the flipboard scene?
The resolution between Anne and Hop Pop.
Oh yes. How
Oh,
could I have forgotten?
before we
Oh,
get to
God.
that, can I just bring up how like Anne was like riding the black heron, and it's like, oh no.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ew,
Yeah,
yikes.
ooh,
Yeah.
That's a
yikes.
bra moment.
How about that? Brought the
And-
beach.
And I know I've said
Hogging.
this before. But I love how they secretly confirmed that yes, people ride herons.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll see if that comes back.
All right.
So Marcy gets a bird and gets a snail, and Sasha will get a heron. That doesn't seem fair to me.
Yeah. Oh, you know.
Hey, Bessie
It
is
is-
a noble steed.
hmm
I mean, fair enough.
And any offspring
But
with
it
Joe
is-
would be able to fly and be a snail, so you know.
Yeah, exactly.
It is what it is.
I think we're going to get into the emotional stuff with Anne and Hop Pop and Marcy soon. So I just like to say I really like the gag of like Sprig going, "He has a family," about his dead chess piece friend.
Oh my god, Greg was
And then-
so good in the entire part. I don't like this game.
There was the. I'm sorry.
Sprig has so many good one-liners in this scene.
There was. It's earlier, and I'm really sorry for backtracking. But when they get to the thing, and Hop Pop gets thrown off the bird, and he lands in the mushroom, and he's like, "I'm upside down."
I
This
don't feel
episode
safe.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's exactly what it reminded me of. Just like a one-off line. I'm upside down.
Oh, so good.
That's a good Bill Farmer.
Bill
impression.
Farmer, he can just say anything and just it's hilarious.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Hope.
He can also.
I don't know how they do
Farmer
it,
is
but at some point in like season 3, I don't know, maybe he eats a weird berry or something, or he gets sick, or I don't know exactly how. But like have him do the goofy voice for just a couple of lines, sort of like they did in the DuckTales season 2 when they had the
Oh,
Mickey
Don Cheadle
Mallet.
voice Donald.
Yeah.
that or the Mickey Mouse voice. Melon, just a little vocal cameo for the goofy
Oh.
voice.
Yes. Please.
Oh my god, yeah.
All right. So.
The good thing is that they can make it happen. It's Disney.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, are we gonna go ahead to the conclusion now of the
Wait,
puzzle?
Yeah, the emotional stuff I think is.
All right. PC, you want to start?
So
All right. I was about to take a back seat since I've been talking a hell of a lot, but since you've given me the option, honestly, this is exactly what I wanted. Like after the rain, this scene that we get between Anne and Hop Pop is exactly the kind of thing I was hoping to see.
Yes. I was
absolutely, they nailed at showing that the conflict wasn't over yet.
And I love how it wasn't fully resolved. Like, because I mean, like they said, just acknowledging that there's a problem helps, but that doesn't stop the problem from like being fully. It's still there.
And I think it's good going forward because if they want to have an episode where like it's not focused on Hop Pop and Ann, they could have them sort of getting along. They don't have to like show this huge feud going on throughout the season in every scene. But if they ever want to swing the focus back, it's still there. It's still something that needs to be addressed and grown through.
They can also bring it up for like one of the last episodes of the season too.
Exactly.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
a thing that can just like hang in the air for a bit. They can just like pick it up back whenever they need it. It's good. The way they quote unquote solve that issue on this episode, leaving it open, it's really good. And also, while I'm talking about that, man, was that a good moral? So much. I mean, like so many shows would have just ended it in After the Rain, like, oh, it's okay. We're family. We'll forgive each other. We'll just get through this. But the fact that they showed that Anne needs time, that there's nothing Hop Pup can do but wait until Anne is ready to forgive.
Yeah.
Man, that was such a good moral. The Amphibia is so good at teaching stuff that no other show cares to teach.
I mean, and even if she does forgive him, they've made it clear that that does not eliminate the harm that he did.
Exactly. They treat problems in a realistic way. They're not just gonna brush it off because I mean it's solved and it's not gonna be relevant in the story anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
It kind of reminds me of back in Lost in Utopia, where like Hop Hop immediately takes Sprig out of the plot by chaining him to the bus.
Chaining him to the bus. Yeah.
It's like that's what you get for like pulling the lever back in the factory and Fort in the Road.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it was mainly just so we could have a Polly and Ann episode, but that was a really fun callback.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it. Also,
man.
these shows.
Sprig's lever
these-
habit is Sprig's lever habit. Like, imagine if there's like some evil plan that needs to be stopped, and then Sprig's just like, I have a lever, I need to pull it.
Like they need to like stop the giant machine on top of Newtopia, and the only way to do it is to
It's
pull
pulling
this
a lever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sprig's like, my time has come.
So
Yes,
that
Rico.
would be
Kaboom.
so good.
I would love if that's actually the resolution.
Oh my god, yes. Like he just like it's my destiny.
Like,
That lever is calling for me.
He stands up like he's silhouetted against the sky. There's a wind blowing. I've been training for this day my whole life.
If that actually is the resolution, I would applaud the show, and I would forever call this show one of my all-time favorites just for that.
The lever D plot.
Oh, hell yeah.
I mean, okay. So we have had 2 instances of lever pulling, which means, rule of threes, we should get one more.
Yep.
Ooh, interesting.
Also, these shows like Amphibia and DuckTales, who heavily focuses on the family aspect, they absolutely nail the writing of these morals. Like, they are so good at writing.
Oh my
Oh,
god,
yeah.
yes.
No.
I've only seen like the first 4 episodes of DuckTales, so I can speak on that matter, but Amphibia is so good at teaching actual family values and lessons because they concentrate on that, on the family aspect.
I mean, and that's, I think, the big thing. The Planters and Anne do feel like a family at this point.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Found.
It's been that way for like pretty much since Anne was part of the town in season 1. They just felt like a family.
Yeah, about partway through season 1, like I can't really nail down exactly when it happened, but you could kind of feel like something click.
Yeah.
Exactly. It was just obvious when like you could just feel when Anne went from basically just being a freeloader at the planner's house to being just another part of the family.
For me, it felt like that was like what Anne versus Wild did for me. Where like when I really felt like Anne was part of the family, and she shows them the box, and then Hop Hop has like the warning at the end.
Yeah, Anne versus
Yes.
Anne versus Wild is when the show said it, but honestly, I felt like it was a bit earlier than that.
Yeah. Let me pull up the list.
Yeah.
I don't remember the exact episode of every.
Honestly,
Maybe
it
Hop
might have
Lock.
been Contagion for me.
Contagion was after
Yeah,
Anne versus
I
Wild,
mean-
I thought.
Oh, well then
We
I
have
have
to
no
remember
idea.
that there was
Hop
an
Lock.
episode that directly
Hop Lock.
called out.
The Hop Lock is the one where she like gets in the cage with them when she doesn't have to.
Yeah, that was pretty good, but
Listen,
honestly,
wait.
at that point, she still kind of felt like, I don't know, an exchange student or something.
Makes sense.
Mhm.
Let's see.
Joy,
Let's see.
gonna try-
Take
There
that they were
was
fighting.
an episode in season 1 that explicitly addressed the whole and it's in a planner quote unquote issue Uh,
Family
All
shrub?
right.
because
Okay.
remember Emma,
guess-
the honorary planner.
Yeah, the family shrub. Yeah, that I
Yeah.
mean that was a pretty explicit addressing of that.
I don't know. I'm looking sort of at the list. In Grand Theft Auto, she learns to drive Bessie. I think Sprig versus Hop Pop, it obviously doesn't focus on her, but like she's just sort of casually watching this typical family drama unfold. Like the conflict of the episode isn't revolving around her not understanding how the world works, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it honestly, while Sprig versus Hop Pop was not like a super important episode, it did feel like Anne more naturally fit in with the planters during that one.
Damn. It's like season 1 is actually important.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we keep on going on tangents. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
Alright.
That's the natural
yeah.
course of a podcast.
Yeah, exactly. That's we need to make this long somehow. We can't just we can't spend we can only spend so much time
Well,
talking about
before-
this one episode.
Speaking of long, and before we talk about the gem being recharged, I'd like to bring up our sponsor of this podcast. So this podcast was sponsored by Skillshare and Raid Shadow Legends, and
God.
Yeah.
that's it.
Don't
That's
forget
the end
Honey.
of the. That's the end of the sponsorship. Okay, now on to the. So they go back into the outhouse and they find
I'm
the.
sorry to drag this on another tangent, but we haven't really talked about the emotional moment for Marcy at this point, which I do
Oh,
feel
my
like we do need
goodness.
to come back to.
Oh God!
You're right,
yeah,
you guys are
don't-
all
don't-
Team Marcy in this chat. We have to talk about it.
Oh my God.
I'm Team Hop Hop, thank you very much. But anyway,
I know,
I
King.
think-
I'm also Team Hop Hop.
I do
There's,
think
like-
it did a good job addressing sort of what the central problem with Anne and Marcy's relationship on Earth was and how that is reflected in Amphibia.
Yeah, with the flashback, and we can see how she has changed, at least to some extent, in Amphibia.
Mm-hmm. One of the
This
things
episode-
that I realized sort of in that flashback in relation to Sasha is how the issues in the friendship sort of get exaggerated in Amphibia. Like it goes from, oh, Sasha drags her and peer pressures her into like skipping school to, oh, Sasha's trying to kill your friends now. And then Marcy, it goes from, oh, she's making you hold the ice cream thing to, oh, she's dragging you through this dangerous temple.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Amphibia kind of serves to take the toxic elements of the girls and just ramp it up to 11,
Mm-hmm.
because everything in Amphibia is just inherently more dangerous.
Yeah, Amphibia is just Earth, but like 10 times worse and no humans.
Oh, we didn't really talk about the flashback scene of this episode, which we can never have a 22-minute episode without.
Firstly, I like the consistency of Sasha generally not caring about the bad things that happen to her friends because of especially like Marcy.
Also,
Like
I would talk-
during the play when Anne was just like falling and Marcy was just distracted, Sasha was just neutral face, just like, oh, okay.
And it makes, oh, what was it? I forget the title. The one with the actor troupe early in the season. It makes Anne's reluctance
Caravan of
even-
Desire.
it makes her desire like not to get involved even more clear. Like fire as a child, and then Peter Pan disaster,
Yeah,
and so she's just like no.
Anne
also,
has had a bad experience with school theater.
and also, Gokon is now canon in the show.
Amazing.
Someone was
Stang.
going to bring it up.
Shout out to Orko, by the way. Shout out to both of them.
For context, they can someone explain the context of Orko and Gokan?
Orko is a very prominent fan artist in the Amphibicore community, and he draws prominent users, and one of them is Gokon, where he draws her as Pirate Sasha.
Ah,
Yeah, It's a
Amazing.
very deep Amphibicord lore cut.
Yeah.
Just go follow Orko Kimbo and the Gotham24 on Twitter.
Okay.
They're amazing
Yes.
artists.
Yeah.
Oh, and
Yes.
also join Amphibicord right now.
Yeah, get that user count up. That way the watch-alongs will be even more hectic.
Oh
I'm
man,
assuming
don't
anyone
remind
watches this
me.
at all, which I am dubious.
Don't remind me of the watch-alongs.
Yeah,
That's right.
PC, don't give Joy more work. He's a mod.
Hey, it's not my problem.
All right, so yeah, and I'm glad Marcy had sort of this moment of realization when she realizes, oh, I'm hurting all these people, and she's sad, but
Yeah, and I like how, I mean, we know that she does this before because all the way back in season 2A, the aquarium episode, she did the exact same thing where she hyper focused on the quest, and that led to her hurting Anne.
Yeah, it's really interesting how they've kept Marcy like consistent in her actions and her way of being, including her bad traits.
It also
And
also confirmed like our we talk about Marcy like a while back about her like her weaknesses, and we brought this exact same element about her in that chat.
that she tends to not realize how she is harming others, and she seems to have some issues dealing with failure. I'm interested to see how this plays into the theft of the music box that kicked this whole thing off. I think there is still something missing in the timeline of that Marcy, what role Marcy played in that.
Yeah, the theft of the music box is one of those things that I personally feel doesn't need to be super more touched on because we have the main points, but there are a few blank spots that need to be filled in.
I think how Marcy found the box, like, even if it's just, oh, she saw it and she thought it was cool, but, like, was she fixating on frogs at that moment, on boxes, on... There's just, something needs to click there.
Like,
The gems.
I think she thinks like the box is like something that is found in one of her games, and then it appealed to her. Like the appearance of the box appealed to her so much.
I mean, to be fair, it's a cool looking box.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
It is.
it
Absolutely.
is.
I would at
It also-
least go over and, like, look at it in a store. I might even have opened it in a store, which...
Yeah, and like, and I still have the headcanon that Marcy had forgotten that it was Anne's birthday and was shopping for a gift for her when she when she was in the thrift store.
That's
Yeah.
And then they stole it.
And then and then Sasha showed up and did her thing.
amazing. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, maybe Anna will like this, and Sasha's like, oh yeah, maybe she will like it. Here, let's go steal it.
One of my theories, and again, this isn't like, when I say theory, I don't mean like, oh, this is what happened, fight me on this, but is that, like, Sasha told Marcy about the class, like the dissection frogs, and she was like sarcastic, oh, Anne loves frogs. And then Marcy, being somewhat dumb in those kind of things, took it literally and thought it was like, oh, Anne loves frogs. Let me get her this frog box.
Yeah, I could totally see that happening.
I can see that too. This episode just does an amazing job at building Marcy's character even more.
The one
I
thing
love
I would
it.
still like to see some of is Marcy and Sasha absent Anne, or at least with Anne, more like what was their...
Yeah, I want
Dynamic.
to see Marcy and Sasha interact pre-Amphibia.
Yeah, this is like
That's very interesting. I mean, there's a lot of Marcy dynamics I want to see more of, because I was watching a review of a thing once, and someone said something that was very true. You learn a lot more about characters from how they interact with others than how they are by themselves.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, like that's like one of the basic one of the basic lessons, or I guess like spontaneous things that you learn when you make or watch a show. Like the relationships of these characters are one of the biggest things that develop their character.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
it's a show about relationships.
More specifically,
Exactly.
friendships.
And family. It has a
Yeah,
family and
family.
friendship theming.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, I really liked the Marcy like epiphany that we got. I would like to see more of Marcy dealing with failure though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna be very interesting.
That's something
Marcy
I'm-
learning.
That I think. I'm sorry, Joy.
No. Marcy dealing with failure and continuing to face her overconfidence and slowly getting over it. It's gonna be something very interesting to see.
It's
Yeah.
definitely gonna be
And that's
Jake
something I
Larson.
think will come up next week in New Wartwood.
Oh yeah, I think.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
absolutely.
Oh yeah, exactly, absolutely.
Which I'm very excited for. I think
Yeah,
all the personalities in town are very fun, especially when they sort of get irritated with Anne and then combine that with Marcy. It'd be
Yeah.
a very fun.
Yeah, it's like it's a new interaction,
Mhm.
and so it's gonna have a lot of potential there and comedy there.
It's like
Yeah.
a new version of a dynamic that we have seen before.
Well, yeah, exactly. Because we've gotten used to Wartwood at this point. We understand like how it exists,
And how
and
it works.
now we've got Marcy, a new element, like being thrown
City
into
Girl.
it, and
Oh,
yeah,
City Girl, you're right.
yeah, exactly. I am really looking forward to seeing how this new element like interacts with a place as dynamic as Wartwood. Like,
And
Finally, the swap AUs are gonna be a real thing.
yeah.
The,
And
those
also-
AUs were like, sorry, go on.
Yeah, and like I said, also this has been developing for a while, like since Marcy at the Gates when she said that she loves farm culture. So
Mhm.
seeing
And we
seeing an episode where she directly interacts with the culture she loves, it's going to be a very fun episode for her.
And we saw that at the beginning when she was like, "Oh, it's so rustic and cute" to their centuries-old house. That is
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's-
but
it's a
we have
little-
to also consider.
it's pretty
yeah,
patronizing.
yeah. I was gonna say,
we have to also consider that in New Wartwood, she isn't just going to be like in there. The episode is not about Marcy in Wartwood. It's about Marcy reforming Wartwood. So that's gonna be even more interesting.
Gentrification.
if there's one
Yeah.
thing we know about Wartwood, it's that they love change.
Yes.
Exactly. I was gonna bring that up.
yes.
Slow to respect.
Lower.
Was like slow to accept, even slow to respect, or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Slow to accept.
and even slower to respect, I believe, is how it goes.
Slow to
Yeah,
accept,
yeah.
slower to respect.
So
Oh, boy.
that's so imagine that not only is Marcy just gonna be there, which is already gonna like be a big conflict with the people of Wartwood who do not know how humans work. They only know two humans, and one who protected them and the other one who tried to kill them.
Mm-hmm.
So they're gonna have mixed feelings on that, and then mix it up with the fact that Marcy is in there with the explicit purpose of changing the place. Yeah, stuff's gonna go down.
It's gonna be great.
I apologize for butting into this conversation, but I guess we should
Yeah.
start talking about the
Outhouse.
outhouse recharge station.
All right. So
Oh
I'm gonna
man,
bring-
we
I'm
have
gonna bring
gone
this up-
on such a long tangent.
I'm gonna bring this up real quick, and I've talked about this in the past. This entire thing, especially that tiny outhouse, is not designed for Andrias-sized people.
And
Yeah.
I will say
Yeah.
there was lots of theorizing about one temple's newt, one temple's toad, one temple's frog, and it had a variety of
frog.
amphibians, but it was mostly frog. I think there were a couple axolotls in there or something.
Yeah,
but
there were lots of frog statues, but there were some axolotl statues. There were some newt engravings.
But like the big central ones were all frogs, and this is just further evidence to me that, if not Andrias personally, the new sort of dynasty took power in Amphibia from
The frogs.
Yeah,
yes.
but
Yeah,
at
it makes a lot of sense.
at the same time, I'm glad that the temple was not devoted to a specific species.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it kind of helps highlight that maybe a long time ago when this was built, the species weren't as segregated as they are now.
That's a good point.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no caste system.
I know that people say that, like, oh, Andrias took power from the frogs, but personally, I don't want Andrias to have taken power from just another racial monarchy.
Yeah.
Like, I like,
Maybe
and the fact
maybe
that
he just established power.
yeah, and like the fact that the temple is, a mix, heavily frog, yes, but a mix, it kind of drives home to me that there was no single species in charge before Andrias came in.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And I think even the third temple, we're going to see a little bit more like toad-related architecture.
Yeah, third temple looks pretty heavily toad from what we've seen.
It's a little
but-
hard sometimes to tell toad from frog, which probably made me sound racist in Amphibia, but it sometimes is a little hard to tell what. Like, if you told Mayor Toadstool, I would not have known he was a toad, not a large frog, had
Yeah.
the narrative not told me.
Yeah, basically the only thing that distinguishes toads from frogs at this point is the fact that they are bigger.
Well, toads actually have eyes on the top of their head, I believe, while frogs have them in the front of
Yeah.
their head.
I googled it. There's like science for like scientists. Toads are just like a convenient description for certain types of frogs. There's no like.
I'm talking specifically
But
about.
Yeah,
in detail these days.
Also, there's like their chests, like the things in their chest, like the marks, it reaches into their chin, and unlike frogs,
Oh, like the line for the.
yeah,
They've got
yeah,
that going. Oh, anyway, so the recharging station. So do we want to talk about Marcy losing her powers?
Yes.
you mean the
or
you mean
we
the
don't know
one
if they
thing
are
that-
powers.
I'm
Joy,
not gonna-
prepare your napkins.
Shut up! I'm not gonna eat those napkins. Okay, so
you are
Something
going
I
to eat those
wanna mention-
napkins?
something I want to mention about the outhouse. This was brought up earlier. The outhouse does not at all look like the temple. I think that's very much on purpose. Like maybe it was made specifically to conceal the fact that it was part of it. Because if you just figured out that it was
Yeah.
part of the temple, maybe you could have just like spent time there trying to figure it out, or
Yeah.
thought
And I think
or
it's-
maybe
it's
have
the-
like, given up more easily because you think,
Right.
oh well, there's still one part of the temple left to do.
But it
It
also
fits the-
implies that 1,000 years ago, when they first made the temple, they also just had outhouses.
Yeah. I do think
Yeah.
it fits the theme of humility from this episode well. Sort of this humble, dirty outhouse being the place where you recharge the gem instead of this big, grandiose temple.
Yes, I
Oh wow,
love
I
that.
didn't even
I-
think of that.
Yeah,
That's a
no,
good point.
That's absolutely true.
And I liked how. I mean, what happens if, like, I guess the question, maybe we'll get answers later, is like, what if Anne was the one to put in the Marcy taking it out? Would it have just gone? If Marcy had been all the way across Amphibia, would it still have worked, or did Marcy have to be there?
Yeah.
See, it's exactly these questions why I think that Marcy does not have powers and that they weren't drained.
All right.
Um,
Well, regardless, if we're not going to, if Joy is going to insist that we don't refer to it as Marcy's powers being drained, we should
I
at
will buy in this.
we should still the light drained from her eyes, which heavily implies that
at the very least, the magic went into her. Now, if that provided powers, obviously Joy has opinions on that.
yes,
I think part of the purpose of these tests was to make sure the person actually had sort of that energy, any intelligence that the gem might have given.
Yeah, so
Those tests helped ensure that you could
Wow,
just stumble upon the recharge station.
okay. So is
Yeah,
that
wow, that's a really good point now that I think about it.
is that implying that it wasn't specifically the magical energy? Like in this case, it was maybe, but that the gem has to be charged by somebody who possesses those qualities, and then it like drains that magical energy out of
Yeah.
them.
Maybe. I feel like there was clearly inherent magic in the temple. Like that bubble, it worked for Anne. The magic grabbed Hop Pop
Yeah.
without any need for Marcy's anything. So
Yeah,
I feel like
maybe
it was
the
good
temple
enough
could just be
magic to do
completed by
like a
anyone.
chess game, like artificial intelligence chess.
Yeah, honest,
So
we really can't say a whole lot until
yeah,
we
we
get more
can't.
info.
Whatever
But
the no,
I
you
do
go.
think it's important to note, however, and I'm sorry I keep on cutting people off. I will try to stop that. But I do think it's important to note that while yes, us all are very aware of all the magic stuff going on, and we've looked at the freeze frames, we've translated the prophecy, but to the average viewer, and therefore the people that the team is writing for, the only easily visible signs of this calamity power is the blue glow at the beginning of season 2 and this right here. So we also need to look at it from
Yes.
that point of view.
And I will say that I'm jumping ahead just a little bit to the Andrias thing. That would have been the first time anyone who is not obsessed enough with the show to go through and translate the glyphs would have heard anything about a prophecy.
Yes. So while we are all, we're dissecting it, remember that from like the way this is meant to be consumed, to the average viewer, this is only the second time we've had any indication that the girls had some kind of special eye glow.
Thinking about it, maybe for that exact reason, we should try to maybe explain to the people potentially hearing this exactly what we're talking about, because not everyone knows what we know, not even all of the fan base.
I feel like wherever I
anyone
post this
listening
on,
to this is already in deep.
yeah, because I'm gonna post this. If you've listened this far into the podcast, this was basically an April Fool's thing I wanted to do, and just post on Reddit. So if you're this far into the video,
I mean,
sorry.
honestly, okay. So just a quick once over. Just in case. In season 1, episode 1, there is a brief flash of blue in Anne's eyes. That goes unexplained. There is an animation error. There's an apparent animation error in the episode of Reunion that probably wasn't on purpose, but some people do think that it was, where Sasha's eyes flashed a color. I personally think that was an animation error, but other people have opinions. And then there is the blue glow at the beginning of season 2 in Handy Anne. And
The green glow in Marcy at the Gates.
Marcy at the Gates.
Which is not highlighted in the way that the Anne glow at the start of season 2
yes,
was.
there's a brief green glow in Marcy at the Gates, and then this right here.
And I will say, regardless of power or not, there's a very clear draining noise that accompanies it. Like something is going from Marcy to the gem.
Yeah.
Which is odd because it's as if the outhouse is like a toilet, which is like flushing Marcy's gem energy away.
Man, there's a lot of symbolism in that in a dang toilet.
Yeah.
I don't know if Lemur's back, but I feel like we're reaching the point of the episode where I think to keep it orderly, I think maybe I should just give each of us a minute to like gush about that ending. And before I'll give everyone context of we're going to talk about the Andrias scene at the end. And each of us are going to have 1 minute just to talk about it and talk about uninterrupted, just so we can get our thoughts out there. So starting with PC, you have 1 minute to describe this.
Okay.
Or not describe, to gush about it. Starting now.
Okay, starting now? Okay, so first off, I mean, holy shit, there is an eldritch monstrosity in the basement. I feel like that in itself is huge. Then, on top of that, Andrias is serving it, and honestly, at this point, I have no idea what's going to happen next. All of my theories about Andrias have been thrown completely out the window. God, I don't even know. I have so much to say. I don't even know how to say it. I will note that we can see plenty of mechanical parts on the creature. We can see screws on its eyes and on its
10
eyelids.
seconds.
Oh, God, it's just God. I can't. I don't have the words. It's crazy. It's nothing that I expected, and it is better than I could have hoped for.
Time. All right, Joy, you're up next, starting in 3, 2, 1, now.
Oh my god, that was such a good ending. Okay, listen. So Andrias talks about a prophecy, about the prophecy being undone. So maybe that's his purpose, just like trying for the prophecy not to come true, because the prophecy is probably related to the girls beating the monster. And Andrias obviously doesn't want that because he serves it. So maybe the reason he's actually trying to help is so he can get the girls home as soon as possible without them being able to kill the monster. And speaking of that monster, holy moly, that thing is huge. Have you seen it compared to Andrias? Yes, you have, because the only scene where it was like straight out compared to Andrias. But man, that's
10
gonna be...
seconds.
Oh god. So yeah, and if you had any doubts that Andrias was a bad guy, here you go. He's serving a giant monster. I think that's it.
Okay.
Thumb's microphone might have just cut out, which is unfortunate.
Because he's the timekeeper.
Oh damn.
If you can hear us, you might have to like exit and then come back in.
Oh, his mic is screwed.
Thumb, just exit the voice chat and then come back. It'll probably fix itself. In the meantime, I'll be the timekeeper, and let's do King.
All right. So first thing,
Hold on. I need to get my stopwatch out. Let's not get ahead of ourselves here. All right. Oh wait, Thumb, you back?
Can you hear me?
All right.
Yes.
Okay. Thank goodness. Okay, I'm just glad the recording's okay. Okay. Who's up next, King?
Me. Yeah.
Okay, you have 1 minute starting now.
All right. So there are 3 things in the castle basement and we don't know if those basements are connected. You've got the secret library thing they found. You've got the basement that was very suspiciously under Marcy's room. And then you've got the secret passage under the statue to whatever the hell that was. I'm not confident in saying it's PrincessCthulu. It has too many eyes. But mainly I want to talk about the stuff before he goes down. the frogs, clearly it's gone from Valley to like, holy shit, this is threatening the throne. The toads, the toad lords, the sort of, I'm going to guess, feudal lords of Amphibia are considering rebellion. Grime is at large. And then poor Yunnan, Andrias is like disappointing to her about how she's letting this rebellion get out of hand. And then as
10 seconds.
she's about to reveal that Sasha's there, which would help his plans, a bee buzzes in and he's just like, never mind. You come
Time's
back.
up. All right. Sorry. Lemur, you're up next.
Is it
Starting in 3, 2, 1, now.
Okay, what an absolutely fantastic ending this episode had. Like, so much information just dropped like 30 seconds, and those 30 seconds single-handedly eliminated every single theory that we had. Like, more world building, more development in the political situation in Amphibia. Yunnan is there. He's gonna say that Sasha is with Grime, but she got interrupted by Marcy, and then Andrias is so happy that they're making progress because he actually has a different plan, which is serving this monster, which is like in the bottom of the castle. Like, we talked
10
about
seconds.
how, like, okay, like this ending just literally changed everything that we've said, and we have to start over. And I can't wait
Time.
to figure out how to do this. How this is gonna go.
All right. So we need to keep track of time for me.
All right, I have it pulled up. Just start whenever you're ready.
Okay, so oh my goodness. So Andrias, the basement itself seems very mechanical. There's like, you can see the light, the LEDs or whatever, and the circuitry. You can hear like some buzzing noise in the background. Oh my god, what else do I talk about? So Sasha is still out there, and like if Andrias just let Yunnan talk for like 5 more seconds, his like plan, he could have at least like modify his plan a little bit more. And like Andrias is so like, he seems like super uninterested in like this rebellion happening, because he's just like, he's probably more like focused on this like calamity plot, and he wants to undo the prophecy. So does that mean he just wants to like has there been people coming in the past, he's just turning them away, and like he doesn't want the girls to defeat? Is that time?
10 seconds. I'll give you an
Oh,
extra.
okay. Is that like, is he just deterring people from recharging the box? Oh, he wants them to recharge the box so they can go home, and then whatever happens, it's weakening PrincessCthulu's like prison or cell.
All right, and that's time.
All right. So I guess now that we've gotten all of our, well, I doubt that we have our pent up energy out of the way for that scene.
Well, I think it helped. I think it helped dull it down a bit.
Yeah.
All right. I want to start by talking about, and this is major props to the entire Amphibia team, how much world building is packed into the single line, into the single sentence, the Toad Lords are convening.
Oh yeah, I mean, the first ever really in-depth theory I did for Amphibia was on the subreddit, was like the political situation of the valley and like how the toads relate to the people they are ruling. And so anything that goes back to how did the toads wind up so militarized is interesting to me.
Oh my god, like,
Man, I don't think I even caught that line the first time around. Like, man, that's so much to consume packed into one sentence.
Yeah, I've said this across multiple discords multiple times, but I think that's a setup for Barrow's Warhammer.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
oh
the
yeah,
Toad Lords have
definitely.
gathered. Grime and Sasha need some way to prove that the rebellion is the best way forward, and so they go to get this hammer.
Yeah, absolutely. And just the implications of there being Toad Lords and them convening.
And the fact that even Yunnan, who is
Yeah.
like the most overconfident newt ever, is like, this
Concerned.
is going wrong. Like, we need to do something.
Yunnan is like the canary in the coal mine for how serious this is.
Yeah.
I can't even comprehend how big that line is. Like, we are actually going to get development in the toad community in this world. Like, we haven't really seen a lot of toads in this show. Like, we've seen frogs and newts, but not enough toads. And
We
this,
have
Toad culture has been criminally underserved by this show.
we
and
have
yeah,
aside from Toadstool,
aside
and
from
maybe some
Toadstool,
we have not seen a civilian toad.
they're all
Well, we did
militarized.
see-
Well, I
we did
mean,
see
Toad
that, like,
kinda
that guy washing plates in Toadcatcher.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
That one dude.
and the chef in
Stumpies?
no the chef in God,
Frog
Little
Town?
Frog,
In Hop Pop's noir film.
yeah, in
Yes.
Little Frog Town.
Little Frog Town, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I would like to mention this before we move on from that line. So, do you guys remember how we were like, "Oh man, Return to Wartwood has religion lore"? I think that's true because if we recall something, so in the pentagram that they made to call for Chikalisk, there was
There was
a
a
toad
toad.
in there. Yeah, it was like their own version of the devil, but it was toad because they're not gonna have like a human devil.
I'm pretty sure it was a joke, but God, I
so-
loved it.
Yeah, but like, man, that's starting to be like, is it actually like a toad lord? Was that like a subtle joke, but that's actually gonna develop into something?
I will say I liked the characterization of Andreas. Is like, he's so caught up in this that his kingdom is starting to crumble and he doesn't care.
Andrias
he
is
Oh,
past all of this.
So
That is-
either he's like an insane cultist who like doesn't understand how to rule, or like whatever his plan is, he's gonna render everything else pointless.
Oh,
That
I
is
think
a
So
good-
destructive and powerful.
that is a
don't-
good
you
point.
don't rule
Obsessed.
Yeah, you don't rule for 1,000 years with not knowing how to rule and put down rebellions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those boots he's wearing, they're not for walking, they're for stomping.
Yeah.
Andrias, whatever Andrias's plan is absolutely going to render all of this obsolete.
Yep.
It's like, my lord, the rebellion is getting out of hand, and it's like, what? Hold on. Oh,
so-
look, the gem here. Let me just absolutely skip this conversation and go down to my totally non-mysterious secret basement.
I do like. I'm sorry. You go.
Oh, no, I'm done.
Okay. I do like how he's faking all this like nice guy stuff, but he still needs a little dainty little pink reading glasses with the horns. Like that's real. Like he pulls those out.
He actually
That-
needs reading glasses.
What he does need reading glasses, and
That kind of
no one will suspect it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That
what are
kind
the odds? I remember
Uh,
back in Lost in Utopia where he was like super surprised that a secret passage showed up that was perfectly Andreas sized for him to enter. It's like now we know that was complete like
I'm still
malarkey.
a little.
Oh, like
What
oh
was
wow.
his game? In
What?
assuming he knew that there was a music box, and a big book. What was his game delaying for like a week or so? I feel like some of it is he just wanted to get a handle on Anne so he could make sure his plan worked with her.
All right, I do have a theory for this, and I don't know how he knew that Marcy would happen to clumsy her way into finding that secret passage.
Mhm.
But I do think the reason why he orchestrated this delay and Marcy finding the book is so if people tell, like Valeriana or Sasha, tell Marcy that no, this is a bad idea, you shouldn't be charging the gems, she will think, no, I know we should be charging the gems because I found the book that told us to.
Have you guys talk
Yeah,
about
I-
Valeriana yet?
It makes sense because it's like a secret, quote unquote secret book. So she will be like, nah, it's not only Andrias that told me. I found the book on my
And
own that talked about
what
it.
was he doing putting her above the secret basement? Like, what did he want her to find down there?
I don't think he meant for her to find anything.
Yeah, I think it's just a coincidence.
I
just
doubt it's coincidence that
No,
he
I don't
was.
I think he just
over
rolled
it.
with it.
I don't think it's a coincidence. I think it's very much that wing of the castle is where he keeps all of his pets from other worlds.
That's an interesting thought.
Hmm.
Like, I think straight up, I think that is absolutely on purpose. When he has creatures from other worlds, from Mossman, Shadowfish, but I think the fact that he's keeping Marcy in the same general location as those is a very clear indicator of how he actually views Marcy. Not as a friend
Oof.
or as even an ally. She's a
pawn.
part of his collection.
Or a
That's a
pawn.
very good thought.
Oh wow. That's
Like the shadowfish were like right below her too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Directly below her.
Hmm.
Yeah. I know there's been some discussion. I don't think that statue is of Andreas himself. I think the face is wrong.
Oh,
I think
yeah,
it's just different.
the statue
yes.
with secret passage. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with that. I don't think that's Andrias.
Which suggests that it at least goes back to his youth. Like, whenever he started on the path that's leading him to this point, he was not king yet. He may have been prince, but he was not king whenever he started down this dark and villainous path.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good way to transition to the line that we will have our revenge. And it's like revenge against who?
And
Ooh.
are like this.
Yes.
Our revenge.
There
Our
is
revenge.
so much about that I still haven't fully unpacked.
I don't
Maybe by hour he was just like
Our order, our cult, but
yeah, exactly. Maybe it isn't revenge against anyone that actually harmed him. It's just he just likes to insert himself into that, because that's a thing with a lot of like cultists, both in real life and in fiction, that the reason they are like that is because they really want a sense of purpose and guidance, and they want to feel like they're part of something big. So maybe Andrias is just like inserting himself into that. Like, oh yes, we'll have our revenge. I'm involved in this.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility. I am really intrigued by cultist Andrias, and I fervently believe that him being, I think, considering he's the only apparent member, I think it's pretty clear that he's the leader of this cult.
there even is a cult. Like, if it's just him and the monster.
It's really just him, but I mean, if you serve a dark god, you're kind of automatically a cultist. I guess.
True.
I guess he could be a priest of this cult.
Well, what I'm saying is there anyone aside from him serving this?
I mean, it seems
Perhaps in the past.
Yeah, I think in the past, perhaps, but it seems like it's just him. But my thing is that him serving this creature underneath the castle is like, I think that this is why he has lived for 1,000 years and is an order of magnitude bigger than everyone else.
That's a good point.
And also, like in the portrait we saw back in the sleepover to end all sleepovers, like he seemed like relatively like smaller compared with the
Yeah.
Yeah,
the toad and the frog.
Relatively.
the,
That
uh,
might just be a
the
painting thing.
well, maybe it is possible that the painting wasn't to scale, but in the portrait, the toad only came up to like his stomach.
Mm-hmm.
And then they also had another like portrait of like Andrias like in his like full size that they were like that Marcy and Anne and the kids were like doodling over, which was like giant sized.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, and I'm not saying that this is 100% confirmed because it's not, but ever since we've heard that line, the fact that Andrias has lived for 1,000 years has always bothered me because
Yeah.
that is so much longer than everyone else.
Yeah, and I'll be
Yeah, it's
I
like
will be open about this. I have until this episode been very skeptical that that line was meant to be taken literally, but the fact that he's praying to this strange Eldritch god no one else knows about in this ancient passage, I think does confirm he is, if not literally 1,000, far older than anyone we've seen, including Hop Hop. Yes.
I thought it was like an exaggerated representation of the actual species that Andrias is based upon, because like if I recall, like the Chinese salamander, which is what Andrias is based upon, like the family is based upon, is like they live for like 60 years, like 50 to 60 years, and like him being 1,000 years old just represents that those types of salamanders are the ones that usually live the longest. But like you guys said, like with this brand new development of this eldritch god, this Lovecraftian abomination that is now living in the basement, it puts that fact into question.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
Andrias could
but I mean,
that long.
again, it could make sense that he just lives for this long because if it's the norm on Amphibia to live for normal creatures to live the basic amount that humans tend to live for, which is like 80 years. Since we know Hop Pop is like 68 already,
Sorry.
it could mean that the reason Andrias lives so long is because, well, Amphibia is up to because if they're gonna make the frogs live for so long, they're gonna make the Chinese salamanders up to scale in relation to how long they live.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I do think that, sorry to bring it back to like the revenge line, but like since we were established like that someone ripped up the photo, and like Sprig saying, oh, being literal as always, oh, someone must have really hated this painting, like I feel like the revenge line might have a little bit of something personal to it, personal history.
Yeah.
yeah, and
Oh yeah, that.
the painting is why I think that when Andrea says our revenge, he is talking about revenge for himself too, and not just revenge for whatever he has in the basement. I think Andreas absolutely plans to take revenge for something.
Something like
Sympathetic.
personal.
Yeah.
Sympathetic villain, Andreas. Very fitting for the show, actually.
It is, I'll be
Could
honest,
it be
a little less
the
sympathetic.
frogs in the painting?
Hmm?
But who was talking?
Uh,
Oh, wait,
Android.
so I mentioned it quickly, but if you're gonna let me go more into depth, yeah, maybe a lot of people have theorized that the revenge is against his friends in the painting, and that's why he hates the painting so much that he just ripped it apart. Someone proposed on Thumbaticon the theory that his friends tried to stop him from entering this cult,
Yes.
or from being so obsessed with this creature. So maybe that has something to do. Like, oh, they'll pay for trying to stop me.
Yeah, I believe I brought up that as a possibility, but I'm not sure about. It is possible.
It could be that like the frog and the toad, whose might be Beryl, like they try having like an intervention for Andrews, like, dude, like they had like the intervention like sign hung up, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, this we found these books under your bed, and like we're a little bit concerned."
And
The other
Andrias,
option
since you
is
praying to dark gods, you haven't been the same person.
yes. The other option is that something happened to that frog and that toad by some force, some maybe humans, maybe whatever, and that Andreas has joined that cult thing out of having a similar goal of destroying whatever that thing wants to destroy for the revenge.
Yes. That
Which
is the
yeah,
yeah, no.
is a little convoluted, but
But
It makes
I think it's I think it's absolutely a valid theory that something killed his friends and he has allied himself with these dark forces to take revenge for them. And I mean, considering that a core premise of this show is about friendship, I think that is absolutely a possibility.
although your point about Shane, whoever was saying sort of he got into the cult and he drifted away and then he killed his friends or whatever. Sort of this whole show's around change, but change isn't always for the better. And that may serve as a wake-up call whenever we get backstory to one of the girls about their own path.
Sasha. Wow, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Also, I like how Anne and Marcy are all involved in this deep lore stuff. And then Sasha's still running around completely unaware that the box is even there.
I
Yeah.
know, great.
Like, I just like this image of Sasha's like just having no idea what's going on. Like,
She really doesn't.
yeah, she's gonna be like, how did you? They're gonna be like,
keep going.
how did you find us at the third temple? And she's gonna be like, what temple? And like, we need your help to recharge this gem. And she's like, gem?
What?
Yeah.
And also, like, hopefully, like, if Barrel's Warhammer does like bring up whatever like Toad lore we were teased with the at the end of this episode, that'd be really cool to see like Sasha getting more like and like more learning more about like Amphibia's culture, and then learning about the box.
And I, with apologies to Joy, I think Sasha may be the one to figure out if there are powers, if there's some other nefarious purpose the box or its energies can be used for. She'll be the one to figure that out. Because Andreas, everything is going according to plan for Andreas right now, except Sasha.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's the loose end. The fact that she's completely separated from the party, yet she's still kind of contributing to the plot reminds me a lot of like, sorry to bring up another show and especially this one, but Zuko in Avatar: The Last Airbender, who was like for a long, long while he was just having adventures completely unrelated to what was happening. I really like that. I like when characters split ways and subtly contribute to each other's plots without actually crossing them. Like such as caught up in this rebellion thing that is the only thing probably preventing Andrias from just completing his plan. And that's contributing to the main girl's plot, who are actually going according to Andrias' plan. It's a really interesting development.
Yeah.
I do wonder if the Toad Lords are going to be the reason why the raid in Utopia is possible in the first place.
Oh, I think the Toad Lords is absolutely going to be where the army comes from.
Yeah. Which
Yeah.
could be
I never even
interesting
thought
with the
about that.
frogs.
Exactly.
I do. Let's see. Blah, blah, blah.
And like, I'm guessing if these like Toad Lords like hold like some sway, and then like Grime shows up with like a legendary hammer from the bygone days.
If I want to expand a bit on my sort of theory about that I think a lot of people have about them getting the hammer to impress the Toad Lords, is my guess would be they're trying to convince these Toad Lords that they should rebel, that they should
They're
take
strong
over
enough.
and that there is either another Toad or Newt who is arguing the opposite, that they should stay loyal, blah blah blah, good King Andrias, and then they go on this sort of competition quest: who can get the hammer first and bring it back
Alive.
Yeah,
And I think that screenshot where they like showed the episode titles, and there was that like really like weird. It looked like a town, but then there was like some like broken like castle
Yeah,
in the
that
center,
looks
and
to
with the
me
hair.
like
Yeah, like the hair and skeletons. That might be like a Toad Lord
that. I think is
castle.
Toad Tower. I think some of the Toads, like Grimes' army, deserted him after he lost at Toad Tower. I think some of them might have just said, "Screw the army, I'm settling down, becoming a farmer."
Yeah, I think that's absolutely possible. I mean, a lot of the Toads in Toad Tower didn't really seem like the military life was something where they really cut out for it.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
Percy.
Although Percy was like the only one to remain loyal.
Percy still wants to be like a jester.
Yeah.
Is that?
Wait, Lemur, you kind of faded off.
Oh, sorry. I intentionally toned down my volume because there's someone in my room.
Oh, okay.
Makes sense.
So, is there anything else we haven't covered yet?
I
Prophecy.
Hope that that.
Oh, the prophecy, yes.
Yes.
Prophecy's being unwritten or undone.
Which, that's always a fool's errand. Like, the prophecy is the prophecy. It's going to happen. It's just, is he trying to manipulate it somehow? Like, there's clearly a choice in the prophecy everyone translated.
Yeah.
Should they fight or embrace the fall? Is he just trying to get them to the point of the choice? Or is he foolish enough to believe that he can rewrite and, like, completely avert prophecy?
I think he's foolish enough to think that he can just rewrite it. I think his plan is to help the girls get home as soon as possible, so that he can just get rid of them. Because in the prophecy, they're probably, like, according to the mural, they're probably gonna be the ones to take down the big bad, to take down the creature. And he's like, oh well, the girls are here. If I just
want to say that,
as fast as possible,
I
maybe they'll just leave me alone.
I do kind of like that theory, but there is one big reason why I don't think that's what's going on.
the preposition.
Well, the proposition, but that's not the big thing. The big thing for me is someone has other plans.
Oh, so for context, I forgot what's the name of the Discord user that translated the question marks
Some
of the
of the
true
question
color
marks.
synopsis.
It was a bunch of people, but I think especially Raphael contributed to it.
Raph did the last
Yeah.
sentence, which is the only
Shout out.
confirmed sentence.
Yes.
Shout out to Raph.
Yes. And unless we can get Matt Braley's attention on Twitter again, we're not going to be able to confirm anymore. Well, I mean, if we do, we can confirm more.
I'll be honest. If we did correctly translate it, I don't think Braley would point it out.
True. There's that, and also, like he's saying, it's one step closer. We'll have our revenge. Whereas, like, if his goal was just to get them home, yes, that would help in avoiding a problem for them, but it wouldn't advance his revenge.
And you did bring up the proposition, and
Yeah, like, nothing Marcy did this episode would have. All of it would have been logical without any sort of preposition. All of it would have followed.
Yeah. I think the proposition is very specifically to give Andrias the box
Before you go home.
before. And the reason why I think this is because of the picture of Marcy with the box in the intro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes
It's
a
like
lot of
offering
sense,
it to
especially with how eerie she is. Huh?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And I'm just gonna say it again. I'm probably spitting in the wind here. I'm not sure the monster in the basement is the monster from the mural yet.
All right. So the
Yeah,
thing with
There
missing
are
a
too
few
many
eyes.
eyes.
The mural is missing a few eyes.
So the thing with that, and while part of me says that's kind of silly, why would there be two entirely separate giant monsters? But over the last 6 hours, after I heard you say that, I've had time to think about it, and I'm like, oh my god, what if Andrias has his own kaiju that he's going to have fight this different kaiju?
There's that. There's possibility of
That's
transformation of
amazing.
either Andrias, someone else, or the Thing. And it's just the mural so accurately portrayed Marcy, Sasha, and then we're seeing Anne sort of slowly gain her armor and sword over this season, apparently.
Well,
That
sorry, continue.
Yeah, that's
if
what I
it
was gonna
isn't a
say.
giant frog holding a ball of flame, then it's weird that it got the swords and bow and like the hood and stuff. Right.
Well, I mean, it didn't get things perfectly right. Like
Yeah, that's true.
Sasha only has a single sword, and Marcy has a bow rather than a crossbow.
That may change before the final fight, but
True.
Also, maybe
and-
it's just like symbolic.
yeah.
Yeah.
Also,
it's like,
Anne has
Uh,
just a sword and no tennis racket, which I get. You're not going to put a tennis racket in your grand prophecy,
Well,
but
I
like,
think Anne's days of dual wielding with the tennis racket might be coming to a close because
tragic.
having two characters dual wield feels like putting a hat on a hat.
Yeah.
especially with
Yeah.
both of them having swords.
Yes. What if her tennis racket gets broken in the finale, though?
Okay,
Like
I'm
one
down
of her
for that.
connections to home.
Imagine like such a dramatic scene of like everyone like mourning over like the racket being like ripped
Well, I mean,
apart.
Straight up,
No.
I kind of want there to be a Anne's phone death scene.
Oh, that will actually be like heartbreaking because she
I-
took all like her
Yeah.
photos and memories of the planters on that.
And I want
Ooh.
the phones. They went out of their way to show Marcy's phone, and Anne's phone obviously plays a role. We've seen Sasha's phone, right?
Yes.
Yes,
She has it.
used by Grime.
Oh,
Yeah, to
right. Duh.
Watch Suspicion Island.
So obviously there isn't any sync signal, but I'm wondering if they'll find a way to like connect those, or
I've shitposted about this in the past.
yeah.
But I will say there's a heck of a lot of technology going on in Amphibia now. And we do have cell phones with wireless signals and Wi-Fi.
Cell
and
reception
shit.
in Amphibia.
Yes.
I'm more thinking using a phone to interface with some utopian tech. But yeah, they could set up
That
a
could
cell
work.
tower.
That
Oh
could
wow, that
work.
would actually be pretty interesting.
But man,
Actually, since the temples actually kind of remind me a lot of the shrines from Breath of the Wild, which is exactly what I was hoping they would be. Having phones interface with ancient technology also reminds me of the Sheikah tablets in Breath of the Wild. Yeah, that's all I was
the
gonna say.
Zelda references here are strong.
Which
I mean,
all
this
fly
is
over my
funny.
head. So
I just have to assume that Matt and the crew were playing a lot of Zelda over the pandemic when they were making this.
More
I think it was
specifically,
beyond the
Breath of the Wild.
pandemic. Like Matt has established like him and the crew are all like Zelda fans as far
Zelda
back as
and
like season
Sonic
1.
fans, like his Twitter is half Amphibia, is like
Half Sonic.
Half
half
Sonic, half
Amphibia, a
Amphibia.
quarter other Disney stuff, and then like a solid quarter of his Twitter content is Sonic.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Sonic and Link have just taken over the animation. Every animator.
Oh man. Although if we're gonna be talking about video game inspirations, I mean and we're talking about Andrias still, kind of. We do need to bring up that Andrias was inspired by King Vendrick from.
Dark Souls 2.
Were you about to say Undertale?
I was thinking of Asgore.
Same here.
Yeah, no. From King Vendrick. He directly talked about how King Vendrick served as an inspiration. And honestly, that's probably one of the reasons why I shouldn't have been surprised that Andrias is serving someone. Because Vendrick isn't the main bad guy in his story either.
Yes. I think we've been talking about how Andrias may die at some point, to establish he is the real villain. But I don't think that'll be soon. Because if the big monsters, just like this kaiju, like you were saying, it just roars a lot, there's not going to be any real, you can't talk with that.
Yeah.
And you're also not going to waste Keith David, one of the premier voice actors, on a character who's going to get shunted quickly. Now, eventually, he may get killed off. But, I think some people are talking about him getting killed in True Colors, which is way too soon.
It feels way too early to kill off Andrias.
I think if he dies and it's not by the girl's hands, which I doubt it. I thought they're just gonna cap the girls kill Andrias. I mean, at least as long as he's still Andrias and hasn't transformed into a monster or anything, he may be betrayed by the thing he's serving.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or he may betray it.
Yeah, see, I was about to say, we have been establishing from literally minute 1 of Andrias that
he is sorry.
Yeah, no, you were just saying it. He's a manipulator. And so I can absolutely see a possible narrative path where Andrias serves this monster in the basement with an ulterior motive.
And I see him either succeeding in that and winding up the final boss. Stealing the power from this thing and becoming the thing in the mural, or he's too smart for his own good and he gets slapped down.
Yeah, I could if that winds up happening, I could see both of those things, to be honest.
Actually, now that you say that, I think we can connect an ulterior motive back to one of the very first things we mentioned when we started this, his revenge line. Maybe his ulterior motive is using the monster to get revenge on something.
But what is the question?
Or hell, maybe he's taking revenge on the monster itself. I don't know.
That's a little... I'm not sure, because he was saying
because he's serving him, right?
Yes.
Right to his face.
But Andrias would also be Andrias would also be the kind of person to subtly hint, I'm going to betray you right to someone's face. I don't know. I'm not convinced. I'm not especially I'm not invested in it, but I think it'd be kind of funny if we shall soon have our revenge was really him being all Starscream on this thing in the basement.
Yeah.
It'd be fun to just see him be like, aha, I have finally freed you. And what purpose? The purpose of killing you.
Well,
God! If there's another, if we get Andrias being a Starscream, that will satisfy my inner Transformers heart.
Up, if Andrias winds up helping this thing regain its power just so he could take its power for itself, I would be totally okay with that.
I love those kinds of villains.
But also, he gets killed by that too.
That's also a possibility.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised. That
sort of a Zhao-like thing where he tampers with something he doesn't understand. And
I wouldn't be surprised if Andrias got killed off at the end of the season, and whatever is in the basement gets overthrown. Really though, because I remember. Okay, maybe Andrias. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up taking a back seat at the end of season 2, because that's I know Grime was just the halfway mid-level boss of a game. I wouldn't be surprised if whatever comes up after Andrias asserts its dominance on the food chain by getting rid of him.
This show definitely does not stick to the one villain per season thing.
Mhm.
And I don't know. Andrea, I mean, it's possible that in the next what is it, 6 episodes left in the season?
Depends on how
Oh
you
yeah, we're
count
not gonna get a lot of screen time with Andrias unless he shows up for these
He
like
might have
post-episode.
cutaways. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if there was a scene
Yeah.
in each Temple episode devoted to whatever he's doing.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, more
Um,
cutaways would be nice, but I just don't think he'll have enough screen time to be killed off by the end of season 2.
Yeah.
True. Yeah. And also, I wouldn't want to get rid of Keith David.
Yeah.
I think they're just going to build Andreas. Like, True Colors is probably going to be the episode where we really get to learn about Andreas's character.
Yes.
God,
Certainly the character.
I'm still holding out hope for an Andrias flashback.
I am too, so badly. I want the young Andrias gang.
Yeah.
I
But
will
it
say
seems
that-
that it's not going to be the case.
Yeah. I had young Andreas flashbacks in season 3 in my prediction game. Like, not this season. Like, we'll see, like, oh, he's evil, and he'll say something like, I will have my revenge for all these years ago. But then we won't really see what it's about until next season.
Okay, I mean, yeah, and I could
That's-
absolutely see that. Although, imagine if True Colors ends with Andrias quote unquote winning, like getting all the gems, getting the
Yes.
boxes. Anne
Yeah.
and Sasha are on
Which-
the run. Marcy is serving him, and then season 3, episode 1 is just an Andrias flashback.
That could, and I just
Yeah.
had this literally just popped in my head. Like, we saw in Bizarre Bazaar all those old trinkets that, what's her face? The V lady. I should learn her name eventually.
Valeriana?
Valeriana.
Oh, Valeriana. Whoops.
Could, obviously they don't have the energy anymore. But could they use those sort of gems and recharge the, like, let's say Andrew shatters or they take back the energy, could they recharge using those gems and use a different object if the box gets shattered or something?
I feel like the box and its gems are special, but I do think Valeriana having magical like magical looking items, each of which with 3 gems, is going to come up in season 3.
Yes.
Or season
absolutely.
2 for that matter.
Or season 2 even, yeah, because she's coming
We're
up
getting
soon.
lower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to be clear, I fully expect Andrias to win at the end of season
Yes.
2.
Yeah, I really like that. It reminds me, again, I'm sorry for constantly bringing other things up to compare. I'm just
Is it
very bad.
Avatar?
No, it's fair.
Yes. Listen, I'm just very bad at explaining myself when I talk. So I have I have that custom. I keep bringing other stuff up so you can see what I'm
Okay.
talking about. So you can have like an idea. Yeah, Avatar. In book 2, I think it ends with the good guys, the main gang, losing, and then the next episode is like a ton of the like weeks or months later, them living under that rule, under that facing the consequences of their loss and all. I think that's very interesting for a show to do, and I would love if Amphibia did that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
I hope that that's what happens.
But
Yes.
also, but also, I would like. I
I-
also love what you described earlier, like season 2 ending with Andrias winning, and then season 3 opens up with a 22-minute episode of Andrias's backstory.
Oh man, I love
Or-
unusual. I
I
love
feel like-
unusual openers.
I feel,
This is sort of
that feels like a mid-season premiere.
Yeah. And it feels like you'd want to get into whatever Anne and Sasha and Marcy are up to.
Or the planters.
Sort of in
as
this
well.
new status quo. There might be a time skip between the end of season 2 and the start of season 3.
Yeah, I'd be
Yeah,
down
that's
for that.
fair.
And this is something I've continually brought up. I don't think this isn't a theory. This is sort of like, oh, wouldn't it be interesting if you can get that distinction between those? Like, what if the girls want? Like, what if Andrias does want them to go home, and like they go home at the end, and so like the first couple episodes of season 3 are them trying to get back, for whatever reason, to stop something.
Yeah, I
I
find
give
it
like
that
I give like a
actually
2%
thought of
chance of that happening, but
I don't.
Oh, season 2 they go home, and then season 3 is they're trying to get back to
like
save Amphibia.
the opening of season 3, like they're not just going to spend the whole season back on.
No, yeah, that's what I mean.
It would be like
the-
an opening 2-part special about
Damn.
like Sasha's like we need to go back to help Grime, or
so kind of like book 2 of Infinity Train, but from Jesse's point of view.
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be really interesting. I always like those things where like someone accomplishes their goal, but it's but they have to
like,
go
yeah, I
back to
see.
do something.
Yes.
Like, oh, I did what I wanted to do, but but in my journey I learned of some things that I still have to tie up. It's really fun.
And I mean, I feel like you hear a lot about Marcy like not wanting to go home, and I feel like that wouldn't even be a theory if there wasn't like one blurry clip of a Disney TVA office whiteboard saying doesn't want this to end. So I don't really think that's like a viable thing, but I think she may be interested, if they ever do go home, in coming back again, just because she'll find this. And like, even at the end of this episode, even after she learned her lesson about hyperfixation and all that, she was still like, oh, this is still so much fun. Like, poor Marcy, she is in for a she's in for a ride.
What bothered me about, like, not bothered me, but like back at the thrift store, you had the Calamity box, and then you also had like the dresser that was also very Amphibia themed.
That.
And like, imagine if like, if theoretically, if the girls did get like transported back, and then like they go back and like look for that dresser, and they find something. I don't know that helps them get back.
Well, I mean, even if they did go back and they came back and they didn't find anything in it, they'd still be like, oh, that looks like it was made in Amphibia. But like I said, I don't think them going home is a is not the most likely option here.
Yeah,
Just a nice theoretical.
I do think it's a possibility, but I don't know. Something. I
They'll
think
there will-
Matt and the team could do it, but something about them bouncing back and forth between
Yes.
Amphibia and Earth just doesn't quite sit right with me.
There are two things there will be an opportunity for them to go home that will be lost because of a decision one of them makes.
Yes.
And there will probably, this is somewhat unrelated, there will be an opportunity for Sasha to go back to her manipulative, lying ways and like reassert control over her friends. And she probably won't take it. I don't think they're going to go with the season 2 Zuko route where he sort of relapses. I think she's going to, like, as a sign of her growth, she's going to be like, no, I'm not going to take advantage of my friends again.
Yeah, I doubt Sasha's gonna relapse. She's come such a long way. They're not just gonna make her go back to that, especially in a show like this.
Yeah.
I really want to see the progress. I want to see Sasha just get better because I don't want to have to sit through Sasha again, redeveloping and relearning the lessons she already learned. I really want season 3 to focus a lot on Sasha after her redemption, still learning to be better with the main crew, if you get me.
Yeah, I agree with that.
We're pretty sure like season 3 is like one of the major stories of season 3 is Sasha's development, redemption, quote unquote.
I mean, she just needs more screen time, to be honest. She's had very few episodes.
Yeah.
relative. Marcy, I think with this,
Yeah,
Marcy has his
definitely.
own screen time.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I think we will see obviously the reunion in the Temple 3.
Third temple.
Yes.
Mhm.
We will see reconciliation might be going too far, but like Anne clearly wants to patch things up. Sasha kind of in denial on that front. And I've talked a bit in the server about how like Anne's like I want to make things right when really Anne didn't do anything wrong. Sasha needs to be the one who advances
Yeah.
any reconciliation.
And again, like
Well,
and PC.
Oh no, I was just going to talk about how I've talked in the past about how Anne feels like she needs to earn friendship from people.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Anne needs to learn that she isn't responsible for the actions of other people. Like she has to learn that sometimes the actions of other people is just that. The actions of other people. They're the ones responsible for their own actions. It isn't their fault. It
But
isn't
I
her
think
fault.
if I had to game out sort of at the third temple on, it would be the third temple, they meet up, they fight a thing together, and like there's like the beginnings of a reconciliation. With the dinner serving as sort of a fuller exploration of that dynamic to a battle of the bands that is even more exploration or like sort of a fake new status quo that is then torn down by true colors. Because I think I'm
Yeah,
willing to.
we could keep talking
King.
about this for hours.
Yeah,
I was gonna let King finish his thought, but yeah, I guess
I
now
am.
that
Yeah, we're sort of at the end of the episode. I am willing to bet that this wall scene at the very end of the trailer is from True Colors. I don't see any point before that where they'd be fighting in Utopia.
Oh yeah, no,
So clearly there is, and they seem in the trailer to be fighting alongside each other with against something in the third temple. So, or rather, Sasha is fighting and Anne is there. So yeah, there's clearly there's going to be a fake rise and a fall before any final resolution.
yeah, absolutely.
so I think now is we've recorded. Well, I've recorded 2.5 hours,
Oh shit!
and I think
that's a
now
lot.
Wow.
I'm going to wrap up and thank you all
Yeah.
very much for coming.
All right. Yeah. Final
So I
thought
think
before we go. Jesse
yes.
is the best ship.
Oh,
Jesse.
PC,
Man,
I'm
took
going
me
to
a while to
have to
realize
edit that out of the final video because I can't accept that. But I guess we'll give everyone. I think we'll just give everyone like a last say before they go. So let's start off with Lemur.
Yeah. Thanks. What like I was just gonna say thank you for inviting me here, and like I'm so thankful for this community, because if like if I said to myself like a year ago that I would going to be involved in a community about a show about frogs and just meeting just participating in these fun projects and meeting these new people, I wouldn't believe it. But this community has given me so much fun for the past 5 months I've been in it, and like this like it has given me more fun than anything that has ever happened to me in the past few years. So like I said, I want to thank Tom. I want to thank you, Tom, for inviting me here today, and thank you for, you know, I would like to thank like everyone for this opportunity to be here. Like I'm eternally grateful for this.
Oh, thanks, Lemur.
Yeah.
Up next we have Uzbeks.
All right, yeah, like great episode. This has been fun. be happy to do this again if I can find the time. A little bit of a self-plug. I do write occasional fan fiction. I'm on AO3 as King of the Uzbeks. I write some Amphibia stuff as well as some other fandoms. Check that out if you're interested. But really, thanks again for hosting this. It's been a lot of fun. It's been very interesting to it's very different talking it out than just like typing on a computer when discussing theories. So yeah, it's been a blast. Thanks.
No problem. And yeah, feel free to plug whatever accounts you have. And now up next we have Joy.
All right, so I'm gonna start off with a plug. Go follow me at JoytheBoi art on Tumblr and Twitter. I post a lot of Amphibia fan art. Yeah. Anyways, now for the actual, my actual final thoughts. Man, this was fun. This was incredible. I've always wanted to be a part of something like this, of recording a podcast. And you mentioned something at the very, very beginning. You said that this was the first and maybe final episode of this podcast. I really hope it isn't the last. This was so fun. And it's definitely something I'd be up for doing many, many more times. Actually getting to talk about all of this and putting it out there while having fun with my friends is an opportunity I'm very grateful for. Thank you for doing this for us, Thumb. I really appreciate it.
No problem, Joy. Up next we have PC.
All right. Well, I mean, I guess since everyone's doing a plug, I'm Princess Innsmouth on Twitter. You can follow me if you want, but I don't know if I post enough to make it worth it. I did have fun, but I also know that this is going to be a hell of a lot of work for you, Thumb. So I totally get it if this is the last one. And Joe Bessie is the best ship in the show.
Agreed. Thank you, PC. And you'll probably you guys can post whatever the spelling and links in our chat, and I'll put them up in the YouTube description because it's gonna be hard to spell through a video, listening to a video. And I guess anyone lurking in the chat, would you like to say anything? We have Venom, Fall, and Chuck.
Plug me.
Fall, I'd plug you, but I don't know. What
I
your
guess
plugs are.
I guess this was cool. Even though I barely talked, I guess I was growing tulips while you guys were talking. This
Of
was
course.
cool. I hope we do it again.
Yeah, thanks for hosting, Thumb.
Yeah,
No
and go
problem.
follow me at Fall is Tired on Twitter.
Yeah, my Twitter is personal, not fandom, so not gonna plug it.
So yeah, shout out to Fall. Go follow her at Fall is Tired.
Yeah, Fall's probably Fall's someone you should follow.
Yes,
Absolutely.
100%.
All right, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna end the recording. Thank you guys all very much, and have a great day.